This short video will introduce you to how to use ScrapPage to build beautiful pages in no time. We'll start by opening a new project, and we'll make it a picture project. And in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to get a background paper. And let's start with that paper there, for instance. Okay, so this will come in. It's 3600 by 3600. So it'll be 12 by 12 printable, just like any other ScrapPage layout that you would do. So anyway, now what we'll do to this is we're going to add some design elements. So under Add, I'm just going to pick some pictures here. And in here I have a little folder called Flowers and Things. Now let's just pick everything in there. We'll just import all of it. So there we go. We'll just bring it all in. Now you'll see everything comes in sized to about a quarter of the size of the page or so. But that's nothing to worry about, because you can always move them around wherever you want them. You can rotate them however you'd like, and you can resize them to any size you want them to be. So let's start making these all a little bit smaller just to get them out of the way a bit. And we'll just scatter them around wherever we feel like right now. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference where we put them. Let's take the frame and stick it down here. And we'll go with just resizing that and sticking it over here. And we can just move them anywhere you want on the page. You can see how you move them around really quickly and resize them. And as I say, you can rotate them if that's what you want to do. But anyway, once we move them around and we get them where we want them, we might say, well, let's build this up into a little bit of a collage. So we'll start off with maybe scaling these things all down to where they make a nice looking collage effect. And let's stick this one in here next, and maybe this one next, and this one. You can see you can do these any way you want. It doesn't make any difference actually. And we have it that way. Now we'll move the frame up here and blow it up in size and maybe rotate it a little bit and make sure that it's behind things that we'd like it to be behind. Something like that. So let's stick it out there just a little bit so we can say, yeah, we've got a frame that is covered but not completely. So there you go. So now we have that, and we forgot the ribbon. Let's put the ribbon up here. Let's move it to the top. Over here in the layers panel, you can see where there's a layer for each one of the images over here. But now that I have the ribbon selected, I'm just going to move it to the top. All right, so it's now on the top of everything, as you can see there, and we'll rotate it to sit in there like that. Something like that. Now, what can we do beyond this? Well, in order to emphasize things a little bit, we could shadow them. So let's start off just picking this, and we'll give it a fairly wide shadow and not too dense, just something like that, just so you can see that it pops off. Now, having shadowed that, it's this one right here, we can just go up the line and tell it, hey, I want to match that shadow for all the other ones. So I'll just go along and match these, something like this. I'll skip the frame. I'll give it a different type of a shadow, maybe a little more dense shadow. But we'll just keep going until we get all these matched. Okay, so now all the flowers are shadowed. I didn't shadow the ribbon either. I'm going to give it a very wide shadow, something maybe like 8 or 9 on their scale here, so that it kind of just lays down there like that. And with the frame, I want to do one other thing. I'm going to color it. Now, you can see that this tan is sort of the color that we have. I'll just go pick one of those colors here, something like that, and maybe go just a little bit darker. And I'll color the frame to be a nice complementary tone to this. And we'll give it a shadow as well. But I think what I'm going to do is just go about a 3 or 4 on the shadow on the frame, just so it seems to be popping off the frame just a little bit. So there's a quick layout, and we can now import a picture and put it behind it. To do that, all I do is I bring in a picture, and I would say, fine, let's get myself a picture here in my folder here. I have a picture here. I think I'll go down and get one of this lovely lady here. I'll bring her in, and now we've got to take and put her behind this frame and in front of anything that's behind the frame and behind anything that's sticking out here, it's in front of the frame. So to do that, I'm just going to say, okay, there's the frame, and now I'm going to go to that picture and say I want to move it to the reorder the layer, and I want it to be behind the previous object. All right, so there, I just moved it to where it's behind the previous object. All I have to do now is size it up. We'll rotate it a little bit so it fits behind there nicely and blow it up so that she sits about like that. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Now, you can see she's bleeding out underneath, so that's no problem. A quick right click will allow me to do a crop. I just set my crop rectangle so that it fills in where the frame is. Tell it to crop. And you can see now that she sits nicely behind the frame and is covering is being covered by the frame and the flowers in front of her, and the flowers that are back there are still there. Now, beyond what we've done here, you could I'll dress this up a little bit more. We could add another picture. Let's go back up to our background papers here. I'm going to pick this paper, and once it loads here, I think I'm going to color it. Of course, it doesn't fill in with the colors that we have here. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go in and I want to color this picture. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick a darker brown, maybe even take it up a little darker than that even, and we'll color it. All right, so when it's colored now, it's going to be sort of complementary to what we have. And I think I also want to do a little cutout on it. Now, one of the things you can do with ScrapPage is there's masks that come with the stuff, or come with the program, and you can use these masks to do a lot of different things. I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this mask on here. I'm going to blow it up in size, and I'm going to tell it, okay, let's apply that. And you'll see when I do that we're going to have this jagged edge here that's going to be left over from the application of the mask. And we'll just blow this guy up in size, something about like this, and maybe rotate it just a little bit more even. And I'm going to send it to the back. I do that simply by having it selected, and over here in the layers panel I say, hey, go all the way to the back. And when it goes all the way to the back, that put it behind our initial paper that we brought in. So I'm just going to click it up, and I'll tell it be there, and we'll give it just kind of a little edge shadow to make it pop off the page a bit. So there, now we've got that. And if we want to add a text box to it, we just go in here and we're going to tell it something like, let's say picture perfect. Okay, and you can auto size these things. What we'll do here is I'm going to use Scriptina as the font, and I'm just going to tell it to auto size, and I'll make it bold, and let's even give it a color, and we'll give it a color that's something like, let's go to the darker there, to the darker brown, and we'll tell it okay. So there it is, and you might not want it to be lined like that, maybe like this, and there, and just no time at all, put together a pretty nice looking layout, and just a few minutes using ScrapPage.